All right, we're live. There we go. All right. Appreciate everybody and your patience. Uh, but we are here now. In case you are wondering who this strange guy is in front of you, my name is Antonio Bryce. I am the writer and the creator of the comic book series brand. We are currently on Indiegogo. Over $68,000 raised, myself and Kanan White. But I have some very special guests here. They have a great comic called Offworlder. I love both of these gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, Mike Barron and Ben Henderson. How are you guys doing?
Doing good.
Doing great, man. Happy to be on with you.
Yeah, man, this is fantastic. I've been wanting to have you on for a while, Ben, because you bring that fun vibe, and I love it, man. You know,
you do too. You do too.
I love it. I'm just trying to talk about comics and stuff, and just have some fun. So
that's it. That's it.
That's what it is, man. So I see you guys have launched. This seems like an unusual idea. I gotta understand, how did this come about? How did Offworlder come into creation?
Well, I've had it actually for years. I wrote it. I have an original screenplay of it, a draft of that, but I took the core idea of that and crafted that into a comic book universe, right, for Offworlder to live in. And then of course, I had this outline and was able to work with the amazing Mike Barron. For those that don't know Mike Barron, co-creator of Nexus, Badger, worked on Punisher, Batman, and is one of my good friends and mentors, Mike Barron.
So that Star Wars stuff over at Dark Horse too. Love that. That was great.
Oh yeah. Big time. So I was lucky enough to show him, what I had so far. And he said, you know what, I like it. And boom, Mike, you want to take it from there?
Well, it's classic material. It's science fiction oriented. It reminded me of Silver Surfer, Galactus, Alfred Bester, The Star's My Destination. Ben gave me a rather complete outline, which I crafted into another outline. I always do that. When I'm going to take on a new story, I write a new outline, and the outline is designed to intrigue the reader. The outline must be fun to read. That's one of my rules. My whole thing is grabbing readers by the throat and dragging them into the narrative so that they forget everything else. They're just experiencing the story. They're not aware that they're leafing through a comic book and looking at pictures on a page. And you all know what I mean. Every comic book enthusiast knows what I'm talking about when a two-dimensional page sucks you into a three-dimensional world. And I think that what we've achieved here is a 12-cylinder engine that's running on all 12 cylinders. And by that, I mean, there are no wasted panels. There's no wasted dialogue. Every panel contributes to the story. And the art is mind-blowing. Nobody's seen anything like this since Barry Smith burst upon the world with Conan the Barbarian. I'm talking about Jordi Armengol's art.
Yeah, I love his stuff, by the way. Yeah, it looks great. And who's your colorist?
Go ahead.
Oh, no. So the colorist is the same colorist I've used on Ravage, Kill All Men. Brian Magne, he's amazing, great guy. He's one of the family, and he does all my coloring.
Oh, I know him through Jimbo. Okay.
Yeah, through Jimbo. Exactly. That's how I know him. Yeah, exactly. Jimbo is another brother. I love him. He's a part of the Cautionary family from the get-go, from the jump. And we do all things Ravage, and we're actually writing the whole epic right now. We're finishing up Ravage. Me, Jimbo, Chuck. That'll actually be our next one after Offworlder. Will be the continuation of Ravage.
Are they? But I mean, are the stories connected? Because I thought one was like in the past.
Everything's connected. Everything's connected. Yeah, I wrote. So in 2006. Oh, look at the pups. You distracted me, Mike. It's your fault.
Keep talking. I'm sorry. Keep talking.
Which one's that one? I love it.
Mac.
Hi, Mac.
All right. Now I got to give Mac a treat.
Oh yeah, but where was I?
Well, you were telling me about the shared universe, or
Yes. So in 2006, I had a big stack of screenplays. I'd been traveling the world since the 90s, and I always wrote. I wrote, extra just for relaxation. It was a hobby. I loved it. I went to Duke Ellington School of the Arts for high school.
oh wow,
So I continued all of that training and, really what they instilled in me. And as just a creative person, I just kept doing it, even though I really didn't have an outlet to produce it. And boom. So in 2006, I mapped it into a 50 title comic book universe, how they would interconnect, the action, the crossover, the events, yada, yada, yada. And wrote the mythology, the backstory, the shared mythology, the shared technology. Really, like Chuck said, when we've talked about Ravage, it's a big sandbox that creatives can play in. You know what I mean? And we can write in it, and so the Offworlder is that, like Mike said, the troubled demigod, the Silver Surfer, out sacrificing his own life to save that of humanity and other races throughout the cosmos, right? The real basis of the story and why he's special is all through ancient lineage and ancient DNA that gives him the ability to wield these powers, but it's really his own heart that enables him to become what he becomes.
Should I read the blurb?
Yeah, please. No,
yes.
7th century Scotland. Henry Gunn leads his clan in a ferocious battle with Viking invaders. But with victory in sight, he is ripped from space and time by an alien race. The Anunnaki seek a champion to stop another alien race from conquering all known space. Aided by the Egyptian goddess Sarah, Gunn undergoes a hideous transformation, becoming something other than human, able to move through time and space at will, yet unable to save his wife and child. The fate of civilization rests on the shoulders of a troubled demigod. In the tradition of the Stars, My Destination, and the Silver Surfer, Offworlder is a star-spanning science fiction saga that will keep you riveted from first page to last.
Boom!
All right, and I actually have it pulled up here on my screen. I actually want to let people, let me see here, because I see you got some of the, I see this is from Mr. Narwhal here.
He's done 3 pinups for Cautionary Comics. We're actually going to look to get that as a print. We also have, a rare collector's coin that we're having struck for the Offworlder. He's so important to the Cautionverse. He really connects to lots of different environments. This is it's a spanning epic. If you're familiar with Mike's, amazing writing on Nexus, it has that feel, that vibe. I was very, very lucky to be able to work with Mike and have him craft this, for the Cautionverse. And, I just learned so much from him, being able to, really focus on what's important in story, grabbing the reader by the throat, taking them on that ride. And Offworlder definitely does that. There's twists and turns. And then, of course, what you're looking at here now, the amazing Mike Miller has allowed us, and I say us, it's me and our very own Edwin Boyette writing a Lone Star Ravage crossover we call Blood in the Jungle.
Edwin Boyette, I have absolutely no idea who that is.
I'm sure nobody. Oh, he's in the chat right now.
Yeah. But I actually made Edwin. I made him a character in Brand. I had Kanan draw him. He is a gentleman by the name of Edward Lind. In the first few pages of Brand, it picks up my young protagonist Dawn, and as she's hitchhiking. And,
that's awesome, man.
Kanan really captured the likeness. I really liked it. So
I'm adding him to something in the future as well. Everybody loves Edwin. We're adding him to comics. I'm thinking about adding him, making him the godfather of my kids. Everybody loves Edwin. He'd do a great job, I'm sure.
But man, I really love this art here. This looks fantastic.
Keep going. This is Jordy. Mike, do you want to, how did you guys hook up, actually, you and Jordy?
I'm not sure. We've been Facebook friends for years. And 7 or 8 years ago, Jordy volunteered to do a cover for one of my novels. It's a horror novel called Scorpio, Skorpio, and he nailed it. It's just an incredible painting. And I felt warmly towards Jordy, and I'd seen bits of snatches of his continuity over the years, but I really was not prepared for what he's put into Offworlder. I suggested it to him, and he's just knocked the ball out of the park. It's
Amazing.
yeah.
Well, this right here that I have on the screen looks bloody fantastic right here. This is it's hard to do building, and I know Kanan sometimes gets angry at me when I've written something where he has to have like a landscape, but he just draws things so beautifully. But I love, not only is this is colored magnificently, and I just love the way this page is laid out. I've become sort of an aficionado over the last few months as I've been going over pages. I can kind of tell what I like and what I don't like.
Me too. It blew me away from day one. I mean, the first time working with him, really it's blown me away the first time meeting and talking with Mike, and then, explaining to him this big, crazy universe that I developed, and then what the Offworlder would be, and Mike got it. He's like, you know what? I got it. I'll take it from here. Let me add this. Let me add that. And he came back with an amazing outline. It was different than my outline, better than my outline. I loved seeing what Mike put into it, and now we have this amazing star-spanning saga Offworlder.
This looks so cool, man. It really looks really cool, man. You guys did a great job with this. Man, just the colors just complement. I can look at this stuff all day. I was like, maybe one day put out even a black and white edition. I was just,
we're doing newsprint, so some people, hey, if you want to get both Offworlder #1 and Blood in the Jungle, another 24 pages, it's only $27 shipped with that's our newsprint edition.
Okay, so are you printing in both newsprint and I guess in a glossy paper?
Yes, sir. Yep, I'm giving both options for people.
Oh, wow. Okay. Will the newsprint comic have a different cover on it, or will it be the same?
I think it's going to be the same. I'm not sure yet. It could be a different cover, but it's definitely going to be colored. Everybody asked that because I put these some of these pages up just because I wanted to represent newsprint. But both newsprint and the high gloss will be colored.
That was something I'd actually, I had sent you a message the other week because I saw an online review of Ravage Kill All Men, and he was, it was on Professor Geek's channel.
Yes.
And he was flipping through. I thought the internal pages looked great. Now, one thing he did say, and I'm concerned about with the way my colorist colors everything. He was talking about that sometimes the newsprint kind of makes the colors look a little muddied on the paper, but it looked like the book itself looked fantastic. So,
well, thank you. And here's what, and I actually need to send something to the wonderful professor, because what I believe, looking at his online review, I think there was a couple of comics in the beginning or end of that newsprint print run that got a little more faded than the others.
Oh,
what we used was high bright newsprint. It actually has the ink is designed for that newsprint, and it's dried, so would overcome problems like bleed through, smudges, ink coming off on your fingers. But I think that is possibly what happened, because some of them were very dark. But what we're going to do for sure is tune it and tweak it to make sure, and we're also going to do more quality control at the beginning and the end of the run.
Because I am seriously, I'm a fan of that's when they started making more of the like magazine glossy style paper in comics. It obviously made the computerized colors pop a lot more, but I miss the way, I love the smell of that newsprint. I love the way it feels in my hand. And I'm actually thinking that when we actually go to print on brand, that it's going to, that's what I want to use.
Well, I heard loud and clear from our backers that they wanted, multiple options. We thought it was going to be a cool thing for Ravage, like pulp comics, and everybody loves it, really. But there's some that want to have that option. So we have 2 tiers now within Offworlder here that you can pick from.
That sounds great, man. I'm still scrolling through it, just looking at these great internal pages here. This is these are just fantastic, man. He did a
I
great
love
job.
it. It's like a dream. It's like, well, being and writing, but it's like you have dreams all the time. You have dreams of like these worlds and these characters, and then to see them alive, it's just amazing. Now, when you were scrolling down, Mike Miller is actually going to do for our metal cover, for those that got the Ravage covers, Mike Miller is going to do a legendary cover for Offworlder. And that will also, as you see here, it's in metal.
Oh, wow. That sounds great, man. And I see, okay, so you got your featured perk here, the VIP pack with the rare metals, $100. How's your shipping running? Because that's everybody's complaining about different shipping and inconsistent shipping prices.
Well, shipping was hard. Shipping was difficult for many reasons for Ravage. A couple of perks we did not mark. I did not mark as needing to be shipped. So I had like 100 items that I didn't collect shipping for. And we've had some returns. We've had some just various things, but the price is more than we thought for international, right? It ended up being like $20 to $22 per package for the VIP packs. And, we charged something like, $5, $10, so, we had to come up $12 every package. So what we've done now is it is $15 internationally, $10 in the USA, anywhere in the USA. So it'll kind of spread that cost around. We can get packages to people around the globe. It, doesn't put us so much in the red, and we can, the price we put for the Indiegogo, that is what we need for printing both, having the coins made, and all the editorial with the amazing talent that we brought together.
Sounds good. And I see you got a lot of perks here. What gave you guys the idea to do this Blood in the Jungle thing that with the Lone Star crossover? How did that come about?
A lot of that was Edwin, our own Edwin Boyette. We were talking about, he's one of the Cautionary family as well. I love Edwin. And, we were talking about the launch of Offworlder coming up here and some, cool things to do. And, he came up with the idea, and then we've been working on, we worked on the outline and story. And then we worked with Mike Miller to make sure it fits into the Lone Star universe. Mike has been amazing. He's allowing us to debut one of the creation stories for one of the Unknown Soldiers. So that's pretty rocking. And then, we have some new characters we're introducing, amazing tie-ins, and it all sums up into one very satisfying conclusion. It's set in the Vietnam War, way in the mystical jungles of Nam, with ancient temples that were erected a millennia ago. And we find ourselves in this setting with characters from Ravage and Lone Star together.
Okay. And I see right here at the bottom, this is the one, because this is one that would interest me in backing right here, the Offworlder issue #1 and the crossover comic for $45.
Yep.
That sounds like a heck of a deal right there.
48-page #1 Offworlder, 24-page for the crossover. It's $10 shipping. So for $55, you get the launch of a brand new universe, a cool sci-fi story. We're going to then do Offworlder #2. Remember, this is written by the amazing Mike Barron. I was just, Mike, actually going through and reading old Nexus books and looking at the covers and, what you guys accomplished with Nexus. I know we're not going to be anywhere near it, but I am just honored to have worked with you on it and to see this cosmic universe come to life.
Thank you. Thank you. We will be near it.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. It's awesome.
So let me. I have a question from a man in lunacy. He says, "Can you ask Ben why he's defaming blood drinking space lizards? We are obviously the good guys."
Hey, listen, I've met a few. Okay, I've shared beers with, but let's just be honest. You guys like to drink blood, human blood. It's just your nature. It's cool. I like to go out to the beach at least, once every other day, come on. Let's start at a footing of honesty. Okay. But I got to tell the story to the people, make them aware that you're here and you drink human blood.
Well, I mean, this right when you showed the cover, you had obviously let a few of us see it before it went public, and I was privileged to get to start seeing some of that Offworlder art before you let everybody see it. And as soon as I saw the guy sitting there and there's like a spaceship behind him and he's coming down with the axe, I was like, "Oh, this looks great." So that's the type of, I don't know. Those are the kind of books that kind of grab me that I'm interested in.
Well, I'll tell your audience, and we haven't talked a lot about it, but the Offworlder is actually based on a real character, Henry Gunn, my ancestor, who's tied back through Clan Gunn in Scotland, right back to the Pictish kings, and so he was actually a Pictish prince that broke away from his father, Big Henry Gunn, but broke away from his father and created his own clan. Henry Gunn. That's where my group of Hendersons come from. So, I took these wonderful stories about this amazing character and, really mixed it into a fantasy element, sci-fi fantasy element, and the Offworlder was born.
Okay, so let me ask Mike a question, because obviously Ben, as Ben said, he already he had the concept and he had an outline, everything already set up. So when you get his original outline treatment, how do you go about breaking that down and making it what it is now?
Well, I always start with a pen and a legal pad. I write down the characters or characteristics and the main conflict, and I try to structure it in my head. And it's a combination of all sorts of things. It's plot, it's character, it's dialogue. Whenever I have a character enter a room when I'm writing a novel, but this applies to comics too, I ask myself, what does he see? What does he hear? What does he smell? And that's part of the mix. My goal is to grab the reader by the throat, as I've said, to make that story compelling. And the essential question in all fiction is, what happens next? So while I do have a structure in my head and I put it down on paper, I always pay attention to the particulars, because what makes a story good? It's everything. It's everything working together. It's the dialogue, the setting, the story, and the art. And if any one of those pieces fails, the reader will notice, and he'll be jolted out of the story. And that's not what we want. We want the story to take over, to grab the reader by the throat. And I know how to do that. I didn't always know how to do that. When I started writing comics, I would just slap a piece of paper down, draw a page, divide it up into panels, and I would proceed like an inchworm from panel to panel. But it taught me a very important lesson. It taught me a lot of lessons, but one was, what happens next? That's the essential question in all fiction. Once you finish a panel, you look at that next panel and say, what's the logical extension of the story? At the same time, I'm aware that a story is like a good pop song. It's dynamic. The story is always in flux. The hero is up, the hero is down. And those dynamics are important to me as I chart the story, which looks like a sine wave from time to time. It's like a football game. At the beginning of the game, the hated and despised Bears drive the Packers down to their own end zone. And it looks like the Bears are going to score, but on the next play, they fumble and the Pack takes over. And then the Pack drives the ball back down to the Bears. So a good story, a dynamic story, is a little bit like a sporting event in that the end is not ordained. You don't know what's going to happen next. The hero is up, the hero is down. And the perfect ending comes as both a complete surprise, but on reflection, it seems, of course, perfectly natural.
And Antonio, I'm a tough guy to mentor. When Mike said grab him by the throat, I said, I was a bouncer. I know how to do that. It's easy. And then it took me so long to understand, but he's exactly right. And these principles have been woven into Offworlder. I think from scene one, panel one, you're not going to be able to put it down.
I mean, it looks, I'm definitely, I got to pick this one up. This looks great. I just, as someone who is familiar with Mr. Barron's Eisner winning writing, this is, I am very much looking forward to seeing what he Because I mean, it just seems like it has everything. It's got aliens, it's got like Highlanders and the whole thing. I was like, man, you can have a lot of fun with that.
Let me say a couple more things about this man, Mike Barron. Number one, if you have not treated yourself yet, go back and read all of Mike's work. Go back and read Nexus, read his Punisher run. Do I have one here? No. I thought I had one right. I was just reading one. But number one. Number two, if you're a huge fan and you're like, wow, I love these stories, go pick up Mike's novels right now. Number two, he has amazing Banshees. If you haven't heard about Banshees, he sent me a copy. I couldn't put it down. I flew from I read it from Atlanta to California. I was taking a trip. Loved it. Amazing, cool story about a Scottish rock band, which really spoke to me. That's why my Scottish rock band comes back from the dead. It's a huge adventure. Mike, do you want to pitch Banshees?
Well, it is about a satanic rock band that returns from the dead, and it's my biggest story. It's biggest in scope. It's certainly the biggest book I've ever written, and it's kind of epic. It starts out in Czechoslovakia, where the son of the drummer, the Banshees all went down in a plane crash in 1971, and they were dead, and they buried them. But in the present day, the son of the original drummer is playing gigs in Prague. That's what he does. He's not real. He's got talent, but he's not his dad. So he's just kind of slumming along. When he sees a poster on a kiosk saying "Tonight Only," the legendary Banshees, and he says, "Well, that's outrageous. I don't recall licensing that name or anything like it." So he goes to the gig, and he's shocked to see his father on stage, no older than the day he died. But when he tries to go backstage, this Russian bouncer stops him, and it starts there. So Ian St. James is the protagonist's name. He's obsessed with finding out what's really going on here. And then the Banshees announce their American tour, and they start to go from the East Coast to the West Coast. And every time they put on a performance, somebody dies in a grotesque manner, like there's some kind of black magic at work. And indeed, there is.
So how does that sounds like an unusual, what I'm trying to figure out, I'm trying to find the proverbial fountain of youth. I'm trying to find out, where does creativity come from? Because people ask me how I came up with the idea of brand. I just don't, it just came to me. I can honestly,
what were you doing right before though? Were you meditating? Were you working? Were you drinking? Were you watching TV, vegging out?
I was watching HBO, and there was a documentary about Richard Kuklinski, the iceberg serial killer.
Okay, all right.
And then my mom did. I was still living at home. I was like 24 at that time. So I mean, I created brand in 1998. And
awesome, man, I created a lot of my stuff in the 90s. I wanted to be a filmmaker.
And yeah, so I was. We had an old 40 style bathtub, big old basin bathtub, so we didn't have a shower in there. So I was sitting there, and I like to soak, and I would just sit there and think. And I was really thinking about that documentary. And as I was kind of drifting away in the water, and I kind of had this idea, and I was like, what if my main character is a serial killer, but he works for God?
That's cool, man.
Yeah. And now I've obviously changed it some since then. But there's the supernatural elements. A lot of the basic stuff is there, where you've got the Craven family, you've got all the different masks, you've got heaven and hell, and you've got the Covenant trying to stop all this, and and kind of take over the world. So a lot of it, as I became obsessed, I would literally just drift off and daydream into this world. It became a real world to me. Mm-hmm. And I started, I actually still have my original notebook with my brand notes in it. And I actually had someone ask me, would I ever consider selling it? As of right now, it has way too much sentimental value.
I know what you mean, man. I know what you mean. Do you see this character right here, the Magus, that it's on my website?
Yes.
This was my 8th grade summer assignment at Duke Ellington School of the Arts, where they said, we need you to come up with a character. You need to come up with a story. I said, okay, I'm going to make a story about a sorcerer. And they said, that's kind of generic. What they wanted me to get a thesaurus, and expand my mind. My wonderful teachers there. And they said, okay, what else? I said, well, a wizard, and then I was going through the thesaurus, and I was like, well, all right, how about the Magus? And then I kind of created this character, punk kid in Washington, D.C. in the 80s in this kind of occult underground. And but yeah, I've kept writing it. I know for a fact I would never sell it. I don't think there's I mean, hey man, if somebody walked up with $100 million, or something like that, maybe I'd sell it. But I don't know. I know what you mean though. I know the sentiment.
Whoa. Okay, hold up. Cecil, are you trolling or is this for real? Hold up.
What?
Hold up. Cecil just put some. Oh, please, Cecil, tell me you're joking. Please. Hold up.
Oh no, he said for real.
Okay, hold on. Yeah.
Oh no. Hey Mike, did you tweet out the Hangout link?
Yes, I did.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Delete that.
delete that link, and we got to.
Oh my!
Do you want me to go back to Facebook and delete all those links?
Yes, please.
Oh my God!
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
Those are just for you and me to get in here, not for.
I know.
Oh my God!
Thank you, Cecil.
Oh man, hey Cecil, I owe you, man. Because after yesterday, I was like, get hijacked again. I was like,
oh man, Cecil helped me with something too before.
Cecil,
okay.
Man, I was like, oh man,
sorry,
Cecil,
boys.
Oh no, that's right. Oh, trust me, I'm all this technology is still.
No, it was my fault. I should have tagged you in that link I put on Facebook. That was all my fault.
Yeah, if I had been a little bit more careful yesterday, the unfortunate incident would not have occurred. But when I did my screen share, I shared the Hangout right there, and then that person.
Is there a way to spin up a new link? Like to create a new link for your Hangouts?
You have to end the stream and then come back in. I'm going to pray because I was like that. Because I mean, hey, nobody's bothering us right now, so that's
no. Very nice of you. Thank you.
Well, how do you get followers?
You got to go to there's another link. If you go to the link that I posted on Facebook to Cautionary, that's the global YouTube link. And that
but we want people to watch this show, don't we?
You're totally right. But there's two separate links. One's internal just for us to connect. And one's for the globe. Yeah.
I don't know anything about that.
I know. I should have tagged you in that. That's my mistake. I apologize.
Yeah, I was like, I thought he was trolling because that's what. Yeah, yesterday the person got the Hangout link and then they came in and they blocked me, so I got kicked out of the room. And then he started showing naughty stuff on, and I got in trouble.
Oh my gosh! Arthur Brown said it's sexy party time.
Yeah,
everybody's got it.
And I was like, so I was like, oh, is Cecil trolling me because of what happened yesterday? But he was not trolling.
I called you a boomer, Mike. We are both boomers. It's okay.
Hey, we're all boomers.
Yeah, I love you though, but I'm gonna kick you.
Because I was like, how did I get hacked? And Edwin was like, did you share the Hangout link while you were live on the air? And I was like, I was like, oh my God, I think I did when I hit because I was having problems with it. I couldn't get the thing to come up, and it was on there for like 15, 20 seconds, and that's all it takes. That's all it takes. They just need a moment. They can slow it down.
They're not coming in. They don't want to hang out with me, it looks like.
Man, but it was I like I said, YouTube. I got a strike for that yesterday. It was unfortunate. I was like, it's not my fault. I didn't know what this person was gonna do.
Oh, it's hard.
Just like, but apparently everybody's cool and nobody is doing anything horrible today. So we've got that cleared up, and I've got two amazing guests. This is I want to ask. It sounds like with Cautionary everything, you guys have a plan. You guys are building something outside of just like one shots or whatever. And what is the plan?
Great question. The plan right now is to get to really launch as many titles as we can that people enjoy. The part of the crowdfunding is to put it out in the market, right? See how people like it. Grow a fan base, right? And move forward from there. But we have many, many stories to tell. Offworlder is a huge sci-fi saga that's out right now. Just go to offworldercomics.com. That is one of the linchpin stories in all of the Cautionverse. It connects to everything. So the real plan, specifically, is as soon as we finish the Offworlder Indiegogo and we get that fulfilled, we're going to launch Ravage #2, the second Ravage campaign that's actually going to complete the Ravage Kill All Men saga. It's going to be 100+ pages. It's going to be pick up from where #1 left off and take off from there. Yep. So that's the next project after Offworlder.
Oh wow. Okay, because that's why I was fascinated by that, because I was like, man, it sounds like you're doing more than just I'm just gonna put this book out and see what happens. It sounds like you're actually building not only a universe for your characters, but you've obviously built a company up to publish and everything, which is that's part of my plan. I'm a little slower about it because you just need a little bit more capital. But fortunately, one of the things from talking to people like yourself and Richard C. Meyer and stuff is that I was able to take some of the money that we earned from the crowdfund and put it into creating a Card Press LLC. And you were definitely one of the ones that was advising that. So it was definitely good advice.
Good, man. And it'll help with your taxes too. And, I'll be honest, I just want to get my number one. My number one was to get my stories out there. Right. I don't necessarily my ideas and see them enjoyed, really. And just, it's a labor of love for me. Ravage wasn't, a financial thing. It was, not for Offworlder, really. There's lots of things in the world that, we all could be doing, but we all love comics. It's a hobby we're passionate about. And here we are. Right. It's been a wonderful thing. Comicsgate has been great. A wonderful thing, bringing people, that really didn't feel like they had an outlet in their hobby anymore together, and with creators and fans, consumers that really want to take their precious free time and enjoy this kind of art, and that's what we're going to give to them, right? The Cautionary Comics, the 4 pillars of Cautionary is story, character, action, and fun. And I would honestly wish that Marvel and DC and Image and others would take that to heart. That's what we're really here to do, is to help people enjoy themselves.
Okay, so let me get some.
You see Kirby right there?
Yeah, yes, sir.
That's what Kirby. He's always looking over our shoulders, people. Right? Let's do him proud. That's all.
But let me. Okay, so I got some questions in the chat. Let's see. Mike Parlett says, "Is Nolan on it?" I'm assuming he's talking about Graham Nolan. Is he contributing anything to this campaign?
To Offworlder? So the artist that I selected for the legendary artist cover for this campaign is Mike Miller. I love Mike's art. I love Mike. He's a great guy. He's a amazing artist, and I want to, have that for our legendary artist series. But there's going to be a ton more with Malin. I want to do lots of stuff. With Nolan and Malin. But there's going to be a lot more with Nolan. I love him. I want to do more with him for Ravage, for Offworlder, if we can. For maybe for #2. Maybe for #2.
Okay, wait a minute. We have someone named Guerrero that has joined us, and I don't know who this person is. Is this someone that is with you?
No.
Okay, so I gotta.
Well, let's go ahead and dip. Thank you, everybody.
Wait a minute. I booted him. Okay, Guerrero, you are gone. I was like, I was like, oh man, what's happening? I was like, they're coming for me. But
hey, man, Guerrero, I appreciate the moxie. I want to talk to you. I'm going to start doing my own live streams and stuff. I know I haven't been doing that. I really just like writing with Mike. And working with my artists, and that's and seeing stuff come to life, and that's really what I want to. That's really what I'm about at heart. But but we're going to do a lot more with social media and YouTube, and really trying to connect with people more on a personal level.
Boy, these people keep you on your toes. I will say that. But hold on, but since I have caught Mr. Guerrero, part of the legendary Guerrero wrestling family, since I have caught him and sent him packing before he was able to control my stream, let's Mike Merripp asks, what happened to the Wraith book?
Great question. So we are still going to do the Wraith. I'm thinking the Wraith would be something that's going to be released around Halloween. I might do even a couple books because both of the I have 3 stories that really start on Halloween night. So I don't know. I'm still toying with it if I should just do one. But what we decided for this one was really that we're going to focus on Offworlder. We're going to give him, the launch. We're going to focus on one story at a time. Get people involved. See, test out the market. Show people the story. So we didn't really want to combine too much at once. That was my idea. I listened to my advisors. I listened to people, really within our Comicsgate community, and I asked what would they recommend, and they said to kind of retool the Wraith and focus on Offworlder. So that's what we did.
Oh, man. All right. Well, let me.
Listen. Here's the cool thing about social media. That is your feedback and action on a comic book publisher. You can, give your feedback directly, what you like, what you didn't work, and see changes like that because we're nimble. We're a startup company, it's all of us together, and we're lucky enough to have amazing creators like Mike Barron and Chuck Dixon and more.
Absolutely. And let me tell you that while you've been sitting here, you have gone up a little bit. You are now at $5,777. Got a couple of your backers in my chat right now. I see
Thank you.
Mark and Jeff Steinke. He's saying that he backed the 100 character, the 100 secret perk, the 100 perk. Okay, yeah. So and that is you guys are awesome. Thank you for supporting these fantastic creators here, because this is what it's about for me. It's like I love comics. This is
me too. It's I always it took me away to another world, and then I enjoyed writing my own. Like you said, it's real to you.
Absolutely.
It's a world that I've been crafting for 20 plus years, and I'm just very lucky that I've seen any of it materialize in the real world.
Okay, so how long? It sounds like you guys are pretty far along in this. I don't how much progress have you actually made on the Offworlder comic?
Jordy has already finished pencils and inks for 24 pages.
Oh, wow.
We have 12 plus pages already colored. We're in development right now as the Indiegogo is chucking along. So we'll be ready. My plan is 90 days after the Indiegogo ends, we might extend it a couple weeks, but 90 days after that, everybody will have their items. We have a different fulfillment company. We have a different process internally. We learned from our mistakes with Ravage #1. So yeah, that's the plan.
Yeah, that's I actually have a few of my friends that I'm paying. They're going to help me pack all this crap up and ship it out when we get to do it, everything. But hopefully I get to that level where I can actually, get a fulfillment service and get everybody involved.
I don't know. I had a problem so the first fulfillment service I used was a collectible service. I kind of had problems. I had problems with them, not kind of, and I'm not going to name and shame, but
right.
Here's what I've done instead. If you can, you're in Tennessee. I don't know if you can find a place. I ended up buying. I have a big storage shed that I've put hooked up. I have AC out there. I have plumbing, all that kind of stuff. So I have assembled a team of people that will put together the packages the way I want. I'm going to handle the database. That was another big problem we had. There's some of the sites out there that are charging people $500 or more for about crowdfunding. I'll get on a live stream any night, do an Ask Me Anything. I've been through the good stuff and the bad stuff. So I think we learned a lot. I'll be honest, the one biggest piece of advice, and I was given this advice, I honestly was, by Brett R. Smith, and I wish I would have followed it a little more in the beginning, is everybody go and read what Brian Polito puts out there on his YouTube and on his Facebook about best practices for crowdfunding.
Right.
Some of those best practices are, pay for and get all the printing done at once, ship everything out really at the same time so you can deal with fulfillment and any returns and any damaged items all in one block of time, right? You don't want to stretch that out because you lose heat, you lose momentum for your property, you lose momentum for your ideas. So go check out Brian Polito. I love him.
Yeah. I've actually been wanting to talk to him because I was like, I'm a big Lady Death fan and all that.
Hey, I'm a fiend. Yeah, me too.
Oh, man, yeah, and I've been I follow him on all his social media and everything. So I admire the ability to retain repeat customers because that's the test. I might do
years, for decades. All of it. Yeah.
Yes. And I was, old school. What was that? Stephen Hughes, that was the old artist on, may he rest in peace, on Lady Death back in the day. And, I always loved, they would show his stuff in Wizard magazine all the time. And that's, man, I lived on Wizard magazine.
Me too.
Yeah, I had Wizard, and, you'd always have like a Lady Death pinup, a Evil Ernie, something with that Brian Polito was involved in. And that's when I first started seeing like Ethan Van Sciver in there all the time.
Me too. I saw Ethan in the 90s at a DC convention, which was pretty awesome. I love Brian, forever. Mike, you lived it. People were clamoring for you, and you went to the conventions and, millions of items, millions of copies sold. How was it?
It was a great time. I went to San Diego Con 13 years in a row. I had a great time, met a lot of great people. But, comics right now are in free fall. They don't know whether to shit or go blind. And we're part of the exploration team that's going into the jungle and finding a new path.
You're right. Yeah.
Yeah. How can we now? That is something I've noticed, because what I see as hit selling comics now with their sales, like if you're on Comic-Con and you see what they're selling, those books would have got canceled 20 years ago selling that much.
Right.
Yeah, they're happy selling 20,000 copies or 15,000 copies and the book staying out. And I was like, man, books, the bad books used to sell 80 and 100,000 back in the day. And
we're undergoing a paradigm shift, and I don't think people give enough blame to video games for devastating the comic book industry. And I say that because I've seen modern video games, and frankly, your average $5 comic book cannot compete with a modern video game in terms of bang for your buck. The video game is a good one. They're more involving. You're more active. You're more drawn into it. A lot of comics you just can't get into. It's a combination of poor writing and poor art. But that's always been the case. There's a theory that 90% of everything is awful, and it's only 10% that shines through. Whose theory is that? I want to say Ray Bradbury, but you know what I mean. You've heard it before. You've heard it before.
Absolutely. I just I could talk to you guys all day. This has been fantastic, and definitely want to thank you guys. As more people watch these, that's one thing I love about people who come in later and watch the streams, and you'll get more backers. That is, I think that's a testament to this audience that I have tried to build and am continuing to do so. But guys, I really wanted to thank you and Mike for coming here today. This has been a fantastic chat. Much success with this, and I know there will be other volumes and chapters. This is great. For those of you that are watching now and are going to come in later, not only is the link to Offworlder in the description, but if you go down to my list, the dollar bin, I have several things that Mike has written. You know, I've got some Nexus trade paperbacks and some Star Wars stuff. And, so all that stuff is on Amazon on my list, the Dollar Bin. If you guys are interested in not only checking out Offworlder, but other things from the legendary Mike Barron. That is readily available to everyone. Do you guys have anything that you want to plug or anything before we sign off here today?
I have a new deal with Wolfpack Publishing. They're going to publish all 7 of my biker novels.
All right.
The first one will be out on June 26th. This is hard-hitting crime fiction. If you like Sons of Anarchy, you'll love my biker novels. I wrote the first several long before Sons of Anarchy came on TV, but I love Sons of Anarchy.
Yeah, me too.
I consider it the best biker movie ever made. And if you like that type of story, please check out my biker novels.
All right.
It's called Biker.
I'll have to add those to the list as well. Are they on? They're on Amazon?
Well, right now on Amazon, the only bikers that are on Amazon, I think, are the I versions, because my previous publisher gave them up to Wolfpack. Wolfpack offered them a deal, and I'm very excited about it because the previous publisher, God bless them, they published me. They gave me a chance, but they didn't do any promotion. And Wolfpack promotes very aggressively. And I suspect my books are going to start to find a larger audience.
I suspect
that. Good, man. I can't wait.
All right. Ben, tell us something. How can people reach out to you? Let us know all that. I know you got your Offworlder comic and .com and all that kind of stuff, but give me all your...
Absolutely. Offworldercomic.com, offworldercomic.com. You can go directly to our Indiegogo page to support us, to support the next chapter of Cautionary Comics, Offworlder. It's an amazing star-spanning epic, 48 pages, part 1. And we're also releasing Blood in the Jungle, Lone Star Ravage crossover. It's going to be an amazing story. It's been great. It's been amazing to work on, a lot of fun to work on, working with the beloved Edwin Boyett. So please check that out. I can be found on Twitter, Big Ben Henderson, Big B Henderson on Twitter, and definitely check us out.
All right. This has been a fantastic stream. Again, thanks to my guests, Mike Barron, Ben Henderson. Offworlder looks fantastic. I highly advise you to back it and back it again. So with that being said, I'm going to wrap this video up. And if you guys want to reach out to me, I'm on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and right here on this YouTube channel. Everywhere is at Akari Press. And if you type in akaripress.com, it will take you directly to my Indiegogo campaign for my comic book series brand with the phenomenal Kanan White. We're on Teespring. We're on Amazon.com. The links to those are in the description. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm out.
Thank you, Antonio.
You are very welcome.
Everybody.